Yellowstone's animals are warning us about something huge that's happening in the park. But what exactly is it? And why should you pay attention? Well, it turns out these animals are extremely intelligent and have been studying this problem for a long time. And what they've learned may surprise you because these migrations are revealing something that humans can't see yet. But with their help, we might be able to understand what's really going on. So here's the story of how Yellowstone's animals are warning us about something huge. But first, a word from today's video sponsor, Masterworks. A lot of my best friends have invested in real estate stocks or the latest crypto coin. But if you ask me, there's one asset that's historically outperformed them all: contemporary art. And thanks to Masterworks, you can get in on this exclusive investment opportunity. Since 1995, contemporary art prices have outpaced the S&P 500 total return by almost 165%. And Masterworks has returned over 20% net IRR to investors since 2017. It works like this. Masterworks buys and authenticates high-end contemporary art from iconic artists like Banksy, and then they sell shares of those paintings to their members at a minimum investment of just $10. After purchasing shares, those paintings are held in a trust and managed by a team of art experts until they're sold. Then you, as a shareholder, receive your share of the profits. To date, Masterworks has returned over $30 million to their investors after selling just 14 paintings. You'll also have the opportunity to invest in new offerings before they're available to the public. And right now they have a range of offerings for you to choose from. So, if you want to diversify your portfolio and invest in contemporary art, join the waitlist so you can get early access to invest in Masterworks' next offering. Just go to masterworks.io/SCI Show and sign up to join the waitlist today. Thank you, Masterworks, for sponsoring this video. The world-famous Yellowstone National Park is home to bison, wolves, grizzly bears, and more than 10,000 other species of plants and animals. But Yellowstone isn't just a refuge for wildlife. It's also a place where scientists can study the animals and plants living in the park and how they interact with each other and their environment. All of that data helps us understand what life on Earth is like in general, including how different species adapt to changes in their environment. One of the most well-studied inhabitants of Yellowstone is the white-throated dipper. These birds are found throughout the northern hemisphere and often live near bodies of water where they can use aquatic insects as a food source. They can be spotted bobbing along streams and rivers looking for snacks and even diving into the water to catch fish. In Yellowstone, these birds spend their summers searching for food and then head south for the winter. However, some do stay behind, even when temperatures drop below freezing, and they seem to know something that we don't. Yellowstone's rivers and streams freeze over during the winter months, which means the dippers have to change their strategy when it comes to finding food. When the water freezes, these birds move from searching the riverbanks to hunting under the ice. Thanks to their thick, fluffy feathers and a special preen gland that produces oils to keep them waterproof, these little birds can dive under the ice without getting wet and grab themselves a snack. But the rest of us aren't as fortunate. Humans are warm-blooded animals, which means we have to keep our body temperature around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius, no matter what the weather is like outside. If we get too hot, we sweat to cool off, and if we get too cold, we shiver to generate heat. Even though it seems like we have pretty good temperature regulation, we're actually pretty sensitive to environmental changes. Studies show that even a slight increase in temperature can affect our mood, concentration, and sleep. And prolonged exposure to extreme heat or cold can be dangerous. While most of us wear coats in the winter, and maybe an extra sweater if it's a bit colder outside, humans who live in very cold environments have had to get creative when it comes to staying warm. Some indigenous cultures have developed clothing made from animal skins layered with plant materials to keep warm. Others have developed shelters made of snow that can trap heat and block wind. We've even invented heated clothing and accessories that we can plug in to keep us toasty. And of course, if things get too cold, we can always move somewhere warmer. But that's not an option for animals. Many animals migrate long distances each year to find food and better weather. While some animals are capable of traveling thousands of miles each year, others only travel a few hundred. And while some animals travel the same route every year, others take a completely different path. One thing's for sure, though, migration is tiring and dangerous. Not only does it take a lot of energy to travel long distances, but animals migrating together often attract predators, which means a lot of them end up as somebody's lunch. Despite all these risks, migration is sometimes necessary. For example, each summer, thousands of bison leave their winter grazing grounds in Yellowstone National Park in search of new grass and plants to eat. The bison travel across the park and back again each year, and they follow well-worn paths that have been used by other bison for generations. Along the way, they stop to rest, eat, and socialize. But they're not doing it alone. The bison are accompanied by hundreds of elk, pronghorns, deer, and other animals that are also looking for greener pastures. Together, these animals form massive herds that can number in the thousands, and they're led by the smartest and most experienced individuals. As the herds move through the park, they're followed by scavengers like coyotes and foxes. And when one of the animals in the herd falls behind and becomes exhausted, injured, or sick, it's an easy target for a hungry predator. But that doesn't mean the rest of the herd just stands around and watches. If an animal is being stalked, the rest of the herd will try to distract the predator, allowing the weakest member to escape. Even though it may seem like a risky strategy, it often works. And it's a great example of how cooperation and intelligence can help animals survive in their environment. Yellowstone National Park is one of the best places in the world to study large migrating animals and their behavior. Researchers have been studying the animals in Yellowstone for decades to learn more about their behavior and how they respond to changes in their environment. And what they've learned is surprising. In recent years, researchers noticed that bison were spending less time migrating and more time staying put. This is likely because the climate has changed and there's less snow on the ground, meaning there's more food available throughout the winter months. Instead of migrating, bison are simply moving to areas where there's more food and less snow. This is bad news for the rest of the park's inhabitants. Bison are huge animals and can easily trample other animals in the park or destroy their habitat. In addition to changing the landscape, bison are also changing the lives of the people who visit Yellowstone. As more tourists head to the park to catch a glimpse of these majestic creatures, it's up to us to make sure we keep both ourselves and the bison safe. Researchers are working hard to understand how the changing climate is affecting the bison and other animals in the park and what we can do to protect them. But it turns out that the white-throated dipper may have something to teach us. Each spring, as the ice starts to melt and the rivers become free of ice, the dippers return to their summer homes. For them, this means an abundance of food and warmer weather. But for the bison, it means it's time to start thinking about migration. Somehow these birds know when the rivers will be free of ice, and the bison know when it's time to start heading north. And they're not alone. Every spring, the same birds return to the same rivers, and the same bison follow the same migration routes. Like the bison, the birds are responding to changes in their environment, except they're doing it in a completely different way. These birds rely on cues from other animals to let them know when it's time to move. When the bison begin to migrate, the dippers take flight. When the bison stop to rest, the dippers land nearby to look for food. When the bison move on, the dippers take to the sky again. This is a great strategy for the dippers. They're able to take advantage of the bison's knowledge of the land and their ability to find food. Plus, they're much smaller than the bison, so they're able to maneuver more easily and cover more ground quickly. And it turns out that this relationship is beneficial for the bison as well. As the bison migrate, they rely on the dippers to tell them when there's danger nearby. When the dippers see a predator, they make a loud noise that alerts the bison to run and hide. In this way, the dippers are helping to protect the bison from harm. So it turns out that these two very different species have a lot in common. They both rely on each other to survive, and they're both responding to changes in their environment in their own unique ways. But it's not just the bison and the dippers that are feeling the effects of climate change. All over the world, animals are on the move. As the climate warms, some animals are moving to the poles in search of cooler weather. Others are moving to higher elevations where there's more food available. And still others are simply moving closer to the equator. No matter where they're going, animals are on the move, and they're taking their knowledge of the land with them. In the past, we humans were happy to exploit these animals' knowledge of the land to our own advantage. We've hunted animals that were easy to catch, gathered fruits and vegetables that were ripe and ready to eat, and built homes in areas that were safe from predators. But now it's time to give something back. By paying attention to how animals respond to changes in their environment, we can learn how to protect ourselves from the worst effects of climate change. And if we're lucky, we might even learn a thing or two about how to thrive in a changing world. If you want to learn more about Yellowstone National Park and its inhabitants, check out the resources in the description. And while you're down there, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of SCI Show.